We're following three major breaking stories here at noon on WRAL News.
It's another WRAL weather alert day due to the chance of severe storms and high heat. I'll show you who's under the heat advisory and when we'll see scattered storms developing.
Deadly fire cause. Investigators say illegal fireworks led to a 7-year-old boy's death in Dunn. Who authorities are looking for and what they're revealing about the investigation. Budget deal signed. Governor Josh Stein approved the $34 billion state budget plan. What this means for teachers, state employees, and the future of tax cuts in our state.
Scattered storms will develop and produce heavy rain and possibly damaging winds today. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Renee Chu.
I'm Chris Levingood, and this is why today is a WRAL weather alert day, among other things. Let's go ahead and bring in meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner to talk more about this. Elizabeth, you have been checking every update that you get with the radar so you can time out when the storms could start.
Exactly. And it looks like our normal summer pattern, very similar to yesterday and the day before, after lunchtime, middle of the afternoon, and then continuing on into the evening, maybe as late as midnight. So we have a level 1 risk for severe storms, which is what we saw yesterday. We did have part of the viewing area under level 2 yesterday. We also have a heat advisory, but just for our southern counties. And our temperatures actually are running a little bit cooler than they were this time yesterday. I'll show you what the impact of that could be. But first, let's talk about the radar. Right now, all is quiet, but as we get through the afternoon, we'll start to see cells developing, and specifically cells. We take a look at what's happening now on Futurecast. We're just cloudy. By 2 to 3 in the afternoon, we have areas of showers and thunderstorms that pop up. So important to remember that not everybody's going to see this, but we have had multiple chances over the last several days, and we have multiple chances going forward. So hopefully at some point, everybody will see some much needed rain. You can see scattered showers all the way up through 9, 10, 11 o'clock. Closer to midnight, it looks a little bit heavier in our northern counties, but we do have that level 1 risk across the entire viewing area. We had clusters of wind damage yesterday, so we could see that again today. Now, we're going to talk more about that in a bit, but let's transition over to the heat. Right now, the heat index is 93 in the Triangle, 97 in Fayetteville, 91 in Goldsboro, 99 in Clinton. At this time yesterday, it was already in the triple digits in our southern counties, and the actual temperature is running about 5 to 7 degrees, about 2 to 7 degrees cooler than it was this time yesterday. That's not huge, but it may help to keep things, of course, out of the dangerous zone in terms of our heat. Our southern counties are in that heat advisory, while the northern counties are not. We're still expecting it to feel like the low 100s in the north and up to, say, 106 to 108 in our southern counties. So it will be a hot day, but maybe not quite as hot as it was yesterday. Coming up, we're going to talk about how much rain we could see today and for the rest of the 7 days.
All right, sounds good, Elizabeth. And folks, make sure you track the storms along with our team, plus the rising temperatures. You can do both with the WRAL weather app.
Breaking news, North Carolina finally has a comprehensive state budget after more than 1,000 days without one. Governor Josh Stein signed the $34 billion spending plan just over an hour ago. It includes raises for teachers and state employees, another income tax cut, and funding for major projects across the state. WRAL state government reporter Caroline Yaffa is live outside the governor's executive mansion. Caroline, the governor had concerns with this budget, so why sign it?
Renee, that's the question that several people were asking. But today, Governor Josh Stein said inside the governor's mansion behind me that there were several provisions that he disagreed with within this Republican-backed plan. But the state employee raises that it promised were so important that he couldn't block this budget. So the $34 billion spending plan, that was negotiated for months by Republican legislative leaders after months of disagreements over spending priorities. It gives all state employees raises, and it cuts the state income tax rate again next year. It also invests hundreds of millions into projects like the new Children's Hospital in Apex, UNC Chapel Hill's Carolina North Campus, and NC State's Poe Hall project. The budget adds more money for Hurricane Helene and Tropical Storm Chantal recovery. But Stein said today, again, several times, this budget has many flaws.
It's full of unconstitutional and petty provisions that strip power from the executive branch, politicize state government, and undermine its efficiency. These provisions are certainly counterproductive.
Several Democrats shared this criticism of provisions tucked inside the more than 600-page budget. But the plan also received Democratic votes, and Stein also knew a veto likely wouldn't stop his bill. Senate Leader Phil Berger responded to Stein, saying in a statement, "I'm glad Governor Stein recognizes how vital this budget is for the people of North Carolina." House Speaker Destin Hall also sent us a statement saying the meaningful investments we've made will deliver real results. So when will this budget actually impact you and hit your bank account? So for state employees, the fiscal year started last week. So those raises likely will end up in your bank account at the end of the month. And the tax cuts that are coming likely will roll out in the next 2 years. Caroline Yaffa, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
We do have some breaking news that we're following this afternoon as investigators say illegal fireworks caused a July 4th apartment fire that killed a 7-year-old in Dunn. Harnett County officials held a press conference about that this morning, and they announced charges in this case. Let's go ahead and bring in Flynn Snyder. He's joining us live right now in Dunn. Flynn, the police chief called this an avoidable tragedy.
And Chris, this is where this tragedy unfolded. This first floor unit at the Ashbrook Apartments on Pope Street in Dunn. The damage is hard to look at. Inside, it's extensive, a complete loss. And outside, a growing memorial now to the victim in this case, 7-year-old Kashmir Parker. Officials say this was avoidable and that the fire broke out here just before 11 o'clock on the night of July 4th. Investigators say an illegal firework hit an apartment window, starting the fire and leading to the death of 7-year-old Kashmir Parker. This morning, police have charged Brittany Armstrong with involuntary manslaughter in connection with Parker's death. Investigators have been in contact with Armstrong but say she has yet to turn herself in. Meanwhile, Parker's family was at this morning's news conference with emotional pleas for justice.
We just want her to turn herself in. She has killed a child, my baby brother, and we're having to deal with the pain and the heartbreak. So we want her to own up to what she did and turn herself in.
Dunn's police chief described the scene as chaotic and said everyone else in the apartment was able to make it out. Meanwhile, investigators say that Armstrong does live at this apartment complex and described the incident as accidental in nature. Meanwhile, Parker's family says they plan to hold a candlelight vigil tonight in his memory. Flynn Snyder, WRAL News, live in Dunn.
And a couple charged with injuring their 6-month-old infant is due in court this afternoon. Right here on your screen, this is Daniel and Lucinda Santamaria. They face 4 felony charges each. That includes intentional child abuse with serious bodily injury and felony child abuse by neglect. Police warrants say they intentionally harmed their 6-month-old baby, specifically breaking the baby's ribs.
In less than 2 hours, Raleigh City leaders will address the 4th of July takeovers in Briar Creek and in Glenwood South. The mayor, police chief, and city manager will speak about ways to prevent violent gatherings, to include the possibility of a teen curfew. One of the suggestions is implementing a curfew for those 17 and under. WRAL's Sean Gallagher is live outside City Hall, where that recommendation and other suggestions will be discussed. Sean.
Yeah, that's right, Renee. In just about 90 minutes, the council meeting is expected to start, where they should be talking about a number of strategies, including that kids' curfew. But that doesn't really address a lot of the issues with these so-called teen takeovers, because we know that there are arrests of young adults as well. Just this past weekend, 27 people at least were arrested between those 2 incidents that were between the ages of 18 and 24. Now, the scenes in Glenwood South and in Briar Creek Commons were chaotic, where law enforcement estimates there were upwards of 5,000 and 3,000 people at each location, respectively. It resulted in 9 injuries from shootings and other fights, and it had the department stretched thin, even with Chief Rico Boyce getting involved in the action. We saw an arrest warrant that showed he was trying to take someone in custody on Glenwood South. Today, we're hoping to learn what steps are being taken to prevent something like this from happening again, because other cities in North Carolina, like Greenville, have already started using curfews and other strategies that are working.
But it's important for us that we make sure that we take proactive approach to setting things up so we keep people in our community safe. And I think ultimately it's been a huge success for us. You know, we'll continue to monitor it. I think that it's become kind of a social media trend throughout the country. And my ideas are probably that it's going to continue throughout the rest of the summer.
And Chief Boyce is expected to address the council about the incidents over the weekend. And then shortly after that, we'll take questions from the media alongside Mayor Janet Cowell and the city manager as well, where we're looking to get questions answered like how a curfew could help and if they have the staffing to support this new initiative as well. We'll, of course, live stream that so you can view it on WRAL.com and WRAL News Plus. But for now in Raleigh, Sean Gallagher, WRAL News.
I'm Laura Levine here in the WRAL Live Center following some breaking news right now. Sky 5 is flying over the scene of a water rescue. We just got confirmed from the Wake County Sheriff's Office that crews are responding to a water rescue here at Raleigh Beach. You can see a tent set up as well as a lot of supplies. We have fire crews on the scene as well. Now, from the Sky 5 vantage point, we were able to see a paddle in the water. You can see a small little paddle there, and then you can see the amount of response. Right now, it looks like they are moving more into the wood line. So, of course, this is a developing situation. We have very little information confirmed on who they were looking for, the age of the person, and how many people. So, of course, this is something that we're going to keep our eyes on and continue to follow throughout the day. But again, a water rescue at Raleigh Beach. We'll stay on top of this.
And certainly the hope is they are able to perform that rescue successfully. Thank you, Laura. Well, flights at RDU are still facing issues after that severe weather last night. We're giving you a live look at the airport right now. And at last check, 13 flights are canceled and 21 are delayed. Overnight, some planes that arrived at the airport had to sit on the taxiway for hours. WRAL's Ali Kadhabar spoke with passengers about their frustrations this morning.
Yeah, I spoke with passengers all morning who either had to deal with issues deplaning or while boarding or are dealing with luggage issues this morning. Take a look at all of this luggage here. We are seeing piles and piles of it waiting for people to claim it. Now, RDU says the storm caused 9 American Airlines flights to be held on the ground before parking at open gates. It says each airline has different safety protocols during severe weather, and RDU works with American Airlines to park their planes at open gates when the airline's protocols allowed. I spoke with passengers who flew in from New York this morning. They say they deplaned about 3 hours after landing. They were told that there was not enough gates available. A passenger said there was a lot of confusion, uncertainty, and concern on the plane.
They were being very vague. They didn't give any answers. They were just like, there's not enough staff, there's not enough this, not enough that. But then it became there's too many airplanes ahead of us waiting to deboard. It was just excuses, and I would have really preferred some clarity.
FlightAware shows that other airlines didn't have the same issues. American Airlines is the only one here at Baggage Claim that has these lines of unclaimed luggage. Now, we have reached out to American Airlines for more information. When we hear back, we'll let you know. Reporting at RDU, Ali Kadhabar, WRAL News.
Next at noon, missing man found dead. What we know about Nolan Wells, the 18-year-old who disappeared around the 4th of July weekend in Mississippi.
Plus, flooded New York streets. A closer look at the aftermath of severe weather that hit the Northeast.
Healthy teen tech habits. What parents should consider when allowing your child access to technology during their teen years. Today, the coroner in Jackson County, Mississippi, is expected to positively ID the body of a man who was found 2 days after he was reported missing. 18-year-old Nolan Wells was last seen with friends on the 4th of July. The 2025 high school graduate is remembered as someone who worked hard, led by example, respected others, and carried himself with humility. Today, officials are expected to release more information about their findings, including the formal identification of the body. A community in South Carolina gathered to grieve the loss of a 4-year-old girl whose parents now face charges in her death. The Aiken County Sheriff says they've uncovered evidence that has led them to believe the child, Javea Harris, is dead and has been for about a month. Her parents face separate hearings after officials said the search for their missing daughter is now a homicide investigation. A judge denied bond for both parents. Members of the community offered prayers, songs, and condolences as family members grieve the loss. Investigators say they are still searching for the child's body.
Happening now here in the Live Center, a 37-story building in Manhattan, New York, could possibly collapse. We have a live look here from the scene here. This is the old Pfizer headquarters that was being renovated under construction for a luxury apartment building. And early this morning, officials say that some of the building, some bricks, as well as the supporting structural beams began collapsing, began falling apart. And so they had to do a mass evacuation here, as well as street closures, and it prompted a large emergency response. So when they got to the scene, the NYPD says officers were told that construction workers on the 21st floor of this building saw columns beginning to collapse. They were able to evacuate everyone from inside this building, as well as nearby buildings too. But now they're basically watching to make sure that this building doesn't completely fall.
Well, millions of people on the East Coast are dealing with severe weather aftermath in the form of flooding. In New York, for example, some places got between 3 and 4 inches of rain, and that led to flood warnings. But still, drivers and pedestrians travel through the high water to reach their destinations. And today's forecast there calls for hot temperatures and dry conditions. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, shoppers ran for cover because heavy rain caused the roof of this BJ's wholesale club to collapse. Alarms are ringing as aisles were flooded there. You see how intense this is. 27 people were inside at the time of this, and at least 2 people were partially trapped. But despite how severe this looks, no injuries were reported.
The dog days of summer are known as the hottest time of year. Is that actually true? And when did that phrase begin? Meteorologist Chris Michaels has the answer in today's Ask the Meteorologist.
Funny enough, when I first heard the term dog days of summer, I was living in Tennessee and I thought it was like Appalachian folklore, but it turns out it goes back to ancient Rome when they saw the dog star named Sirius that was rising in conjunction with the sun. So they thought that that star had something to do with our heat. Obviously, we know now that the sun is the only thing that's going to heat us up. So let's kind of break it down. The dog days of summer go from July the 3rd until August the 11th. So we took pre-dog days, and post-dog days, and what we found out, the dog days of summer are indeed the hottest part of the summer, and they're getting warmer, at least in the triangle. Now, some of that has to do with urbanization. Other parts of that have to do with the cycle that we're in. Over the past 140 years, the average dog day temperature was about 79 degrees. Now it's about 81.5 degrees over the past 5 years. So while we're talking about the dogs, make sure you keep them in mind, especially with how hot things are going to be. If you can, avoid the pavement and the concrete because that really absorbs the high heat that we've seen in recent days and that we'll continue to see moving forward.
Dog days of summer, it's certainly a phrase that you hear a lot. Now you know the backstory. Thanks to Chris. And thanks to Elizabeth. We've got another heat alert here, but it's not going to be quite as hot as yesterday. Still plenty of heat.
Plenty of heat. Still feeling like triple digits, but most of the viewing area will be, like in the low 100s. We get up to maybe 105 to 106 in some of our southern counties. We also have some of that heavy rain that we saw yesterday in our forecast, so there could be some localized flooding, and of course thunderstorms will cause that, and those will start to develop soon. We take a look at dual Doppler 5000 radar. Nothing showing up just yet here, but notice it's starting to fire just south of the mountains of Virginia. We haven't seen anything firing up here. By the time we got to this time yesterday, we're starting to see some storms firing in the mountains and along the coast. So it may be just an hour or two slower than it was yesterday. Boy, we ended up with several lines of storms developing and sort of moving across the same area. We call that training, like trains on a track with different cars on the train. All the cells follow along that same line. So you can see a line to the south. You can see one right through the triangle, another one just north, and then one up into Virginia. And the one through the triangle, we saw a lot of rain out of that one, 2 to 4 inches in that line, about 2 to 2.5 inches in that southern one, and that far northern one, about 2 inches. And here's some specific towns: Knightdale and Durham, right around 2 inches or so. Rocky Mount near 2 inches. Clinton, almost 1.5 inches. And then about 1/2 inch in Oxford and about 1/4 inch in Siler City. There were plenty of places that didn't see any rain. We also had some severe storms to go along with that, especially north and east of Raleigh, northeast Wake County, a good bit of Franklin County, and then along the I-95 corridor. Those are all areas, those circles there, where we had reports of wind damage and trees down. We'll start to see things developing as we get through the afternoon. Most likely by 2 or 3, we begin to see things popping up here on Futurecast, and we'll see some of those cells producing slushing, heavy rain, and possibly some wind damage. We didn't see all the rain really cranking up in Raleigh until a little bit later, and maybe even later today because the temperature isn't quite as hot, but it likely will be in just a bit. So again, we do have across the viewing area that level 1 risk for severe storms. We have a level 1 risk for tomorrow as well. And we'll talk more about that coming up. Starting to see some clouds building here over Wake County. Our dew point is 73 and our temperature is 86. So it definitely feels hot and sticky out there, feeling like temperatures are in the mid 90s, mid to upper 90s, and we'll climb into the mid 90s this afternoon. Here's a look at that heat advisory. Lillington, Smithfield, Goldsboro, Clinton, Fayetteville, all in that heat advisory. The rest of the viewing area isn't, but it will still likely feel like triple digits. Looking at a heat index of 102 in Durham, 101 in Rocky Mount, 106 in Fayetteville, and in Goldsboro, where we are likely to see the hotter temperatures. Check out that 99 on Friday. All these highs are above normal, and that 99 could end up tying the previous record for Friday. We also have showers and storms in our forecast again tomorrow. It's another level 1 risk. We'll walk through the timeline and let you know what to expect coming up.
Okay, thanks for that breakdown for us, Elizabeth. Well, FEMA announced millions of dollars for Tropical Storm Chantal recovery in North Carolina. And so today, starting on WRAL News at 4, our Investigates team shows you how much our city and counties have actually received.
Protecting your digital privacy. 5 on Your Side shares a simple tool you probably already have in your home to prevent people from gaining access to your information.
All right, so it looks like Kalshi and Polymarket are seeing record numbers because of the FIFA World Cup. Just last month, in fact, Kalshi had more than $30 billion in trading volume. In May, it was nearly $18 billion. Polymarket also hit a record high of $10.8 billion last month. And in the upset match between the U.S. and Belgium, we're talking about more than $186 million between both platforms that was traded on if the U.S. won the game. Belgium won 4-1 last night. And our WRAL documentary unit dove deeper into the effect of sports gambling, and it looked at the sports gambling boom and where the industry goes next. You can actually watch. Yes, more heat and storms in our forecast this afternoon because it is a WRAL Weather Alert Day.
Meteorologist Elizabeth Gardner is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at what we can expect now through the evening. But certainly people are out there playing golf. They're not worried about it yet.
They're not. I recommend if you need to be outside doing something that you're going to be wrapping it up probably in the next hour to 2 hours at minimum. Number one, it's just going to be too hot to be outside. It'll be dangerous. And then number two, the storms are going to start to develop. I picked this because of the pretty sky here in Pinehurst. Notice the clouds are starting to get a little puffy. As those clouds get taller and taller, eventually we'll begin to see some of those turning into thunderstorms. But folks are out there trying to get in a little bit of golf in between now and then. Our temperature in the mid 80s, but our dew point is 73. So 86 with a nice low dew point wouldn't be too bad. But 73 puts us way up there at tropical. And with all that moisture in the atmosphere, it feels a lot hotter than it actually is. And so that's why we end up with the heat advisories. So over here in Southern Pines, it's 90, but feels like 99. So not great to be out on the golf course. Starting to see these numbers a little higher than they were right at noon. So Clinton's now feeling like 102. It feels like 93 in Rocky Mount and in South Hill. But it's down here, Lillington, Fayetteville, Clinton, Smithfield, Goldsboro, where we could hit up to 106. And that's going to be the area that will be most dangerous. Now, of course, heat's impacts on your body are cumulative. And we've seen multiple days in a row of high heat. So I would recommend that you play it safe and just stay inside for the rest of the afternoon. Starting to see a few little cells now popping up, more than we had about 30 minutes or so ago. And here's one just to the west of our viewing area. So we'll watch that. We'll check in again in about 15 minutes. We'll see if we have more cells that have started to pop up. Best chance of rain will come mid to late afternoon and into the evening. So it, of course, is a level 1 risk for severe storms. More level 1 risk for tomorrow. So we'll take a closer look at that too coming up.
All right, sounds good, Elizabeth. And folks, you can stay on top of the changing weather conditions across our viewing area by downloading the WRAL Weather app and making sure your notifications are turned on.
Happening now here in the Live Center, we're staying on top of that developing story regarding a water rescue here at Raleigh Beach. Sky 5 has been flying over the Neuse River here, where Wake County Sheriff's Office as well as fire and water rescue crews have been here at the scene responding. We're still working to get confirmed information, but I can tell you that Broadcastify radio traffic indicates that the call went out around 11:40, responding to a child that was drowning in this area. Again, still working to gather more confirmed details at this point, but a very serious situation where we saw a large response from crews here at the scene. We also saw EMS at the scene as well. So again, this is Raleigh Beach along the Neuse River here, where crews responded to that water rescue, working to gather those details for you. We'll bring them online and on air as soon as we get that update from Wake County Sheriff's Office.
We'll be watching for that. Thank you, Laura. Breaking news. Governor Josh Stein has signed North Carolina's first comprehensive state budget in more than 1,000 days. The $34 billion plan delivers raises for teachers and state employees, cuts income taxes again, and pours millions into projects across the state. To see how this budget could impact you and your family, head to the NC Capitol section of WRAL.com and WRAL's YouTube channel.
Well, about 40,000 students across Wake County returned to the classroom this morning, and it was the first day of year-round school for these students. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey explains why safety is at the top of mind for parents this year.
Hundreds of students here at Lake Myra Elementary are arriving for their first day of year-round school. Here's a big update on school safety that Wake County parents need to know. Starting this year, all Wake County schools will follow a new standard response protocol. It includes 5 stages for an emergency response: hold, secure, lock down, evacuate, and shelter. Superintendent Robert Taylor explains why the district decided to implement this change.
It's about making sure there's a common way to identify everything that happens, both with law enforcement that's outside of the school, but also the school population in terms of recognizing what kind of emergency is taking place. And so it is an opportunity to take a lot of the anxiety out of certain kinds of emergencies.
A question parents always have at the start of a new school year is, what is the status of the bus routes? The district says that all of their bus routes are fully staffed for year-round schools, and traditional calendar students, they'll start school on August 24th. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News in Wake County.
We hope the students are having a great day. Today, Wake Ed Partnership is launching its annual Tools for Schools Community Supply Drive. It is a 7-week summer campaign that gives teachers in the county access to free classroom school supplies. The nonprofit partners with business and organizations in the area to help collect donations used to stock the shelves at Wake Ed's free supply store. Today, Wake Ed and Wake school leaders will kick off the drive at Staples over on Wake Forest Road. This year, the nonprofit has a new challenge for the community. If you are a business owner, part of faith community or organization, you can participate in the Tools for Schools Challenge. The group that collects the most supplies by the end of the summer will receive an award.
So many parents consider what should be considered balanced when it comes to allowing their child to be on the phone and computer. Jen Sullivan spoke with one technology camp director and shares how families can reshape their approach to technology.
At Camp URJ 6 Point SciTech Academy in Massachusetts, campers are busy learning coding, 3D printing, robotics, and how to incorporate technology into music and art.
There's no part of life currently that is not impacted by the digital tools that we're using.
Jamie Dale Maladine has been teaching technology and education for more than 15 years. She also has a master's degree in video gaming.
So it's really more about how can we be our best selves through the tools that we know and love. So it's really about playing around with technology and different science concepts and figuring out how we can use that to make the world a better place.
Statistics show teens are spending more time in front of screens as technology becomes more integrated in their lives, and that can negatively impact their mental and physical health. The nonprofit Common Sense Media surveyed a group of teens from 2015 to 2021 between age 13 to 18 and found they averaged 8 hours and 39 minutes of screen time per day.
Young people are engaging with technology at a younger and younger age. And so being able to think critically, not just about what they're using, but how it's made.
Maladine says parents should be engaging with their children about the technology they're using. If they're into video gaming, she suggests asking them questions about the game, how it's made, who they're talking to online.
I think There's also an increasing need for people to be able to learn things without being assessed through any other lens than are you having a good time.
Maladine says the skills they learn at her camp can translate to multiple fields. She says former campers have gone on to land jobs in the film industry, medical field, and aerospace engineering.
Well, don't sit too long. Make sure to stretch those legs, walk around a little bit. Why those small breaks are so important to your overall health.
Plus, we're talking about water park safety. 5 things parents can do to help ensure their kids have fun and stay safe during their visit. Okay, so getting your body moving after sitting for a long time, it could reduce your risk for cancer. Research shows that over a 12-year period, this research, I should mention, that sitting for an hour straight is linked to a 9% increased risk of death by cancer. But taking breaks each hour to stretch your legs, that can actually lower the risk. It also shows that switching an hour of performing activities while sitting with light physical activity reduce the risk of cancer death as well.
Shoppers in California will no longer see sell-by dates on their groceries. A new law started July 1st that bans sell-by labels. Now companies have to use phrases such as best if used by or best if used or frozen by to let people know if their food is safe to eat. The goal is to clear up confusion created by dozens of competing date stamps.
So parents, doctors are giving you important reminders before your trip to the water park this summer. Pay attention to what's going on in and outside the water. The Cleveland Clinic suggests having kids wear water shoes. This can help prevent falls and give a protective barrier in case of unclean surfaces. Now, you can also take a shower before and after getting in the pool, and that can limit your germ exposure. And knowing when it's time to take a break, that can be good for your body.
And so it's important to pull them out, just have everybody pause for a moment, get some water, relax, reapply the sunscreen, want to make sure there's no sunburns going on, and then go back in for more play in the water park.
And you know, taking swim lessons and having someone watch the children, that can help prevent any accidents as well.
Restoring island power, just how long Cuba has gone without power and what led to the most recent grid outage.
Plus extreme summer storms, the major flooding rushing through the Northeast, and why meteorologists say it's not over yet.
Cuban officials are restoring power after the country's national electric grid collapsed yesterday. For months, the country has gone from hours to days-long power outages. They are linked to a rundown grid and a U.S.-imposed oil blockage that cuts off fuel supply to the island. Monday's nationwide blackout is the 8th one since October 2025 and the 3rd one this year. Officials have not yet said what caused the grid to collapse. Happening today, Raleigh's water restrictions could get tighter soon. City Council will discuss the rules at today's meeting. City leaders say many people are not adhering to the restrictions in place. They also say steeper penalties may be needed to preserve the dwindling water supply.
Well, major flooding from storms in the mid-Atlantic and Northeast are giving communities a tough time into the summer. John Lawrence has a look at the damage and shares how more harsh weather, it's not slowing down.
This is not okay, guys. We need help.
Some streets in New Jersey are looking like rivers right now.
Uh-oh, here come a dummy. Here comes a dummy. Here comes a dummy. That's really trouble. Dummy.
Tens of millions of people along the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and southern New England areas are dealing with the aftermath of storms that produced flash floods over the past few days.
More damage. Refrigerators are underwater, probably going to need new compressors. Nobody's blocking the street off for us.
Additional storms are expected in some already stricken spots, which will likely cause additional wreckage.
We still have bent trees, are broken in half and splintered everywhere. In the backyard, in the side, everywhere. It was like a cyclone like you would not imagine.
Some residents in Harwinton, Connecticut have been without power for at least 2 days.
I said, we're going to the basement. That's it. You know, I didn't think it was going to stop.
Officials are reminding residents to be cautious while out in the wetter than usual elements.
We've activated our Office of Emergency Management,
been in contact with all 21 counties and hundreds of municipalities, and we're helping communities recover. But this weather isn't over yet.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Video, Elizabeth. Isn't it always interesting? There's always one person, at least one person, who thinks, nah, I'll be fine. I'll just go through this floodwater, and your car's flooded.
Yep. And sometimes it turns worse than that.
Yes.
Because you never know what's happening under the water, under the road, whether the road is washed away. So we encourage people, especially as we get into tropical season, don't ever do that.
Ain't worth dying over, guys.
It is definitely
Ain't
not.
worth it.
We have another round of thunderstorms. It's just starting to brew out there. We do have a level 1 risk of storms for mid to late afternoon into the evening. And of course, we have that heat risk again today too. Our southern counties under a heat advisory. We have this cold front that's sliding through. It's a very weak front. It's not acting like a lot of fronts do. That one's really just falling apart. And we're starting to see the showers and storms developing well to our west across the mountains, and gradually they'll start to move into our area. We have this little batch here that's moving into Person County and the northern part of Orange County. So this is the very first batch that's just starting to develop. But once we see some of them, we tend to see more. And so it's pretty much right on time. It's 12:47. It looked like right after lunchtime. So between 1 and 2 or 3 o'clock, we're going to see these cells popping up. This is a look at the areas that we had wind damage yesterday. Those little gray circles, little white circles are where we had trees down. Northeastern Wake County, a number of those in Franklin County, a few of those also in Johnston County and along the I-95 corridor. Once again, it's a level 1 risk for severe storms. We did have part of the viewing area up near the Virginia line yesterday as a level 2 risk, but today should feel very much like yesterday. Of course, we're looking at partly cloudy skies right now. As we head through the afternoon, you can see the little cells starting to pop up, and then we'll see more of those as we get into the evening. Potentially, we'll see a line of them developing right around dinner time and then dropping southward. It certainly looks like some people will see heavy rain. If you saw heavy rain yesterday, you may or may not see it again. If you haven't seen any yet in the last week, I hope for you that you do see some rain, but not any wind damage. We do have the potential for scattered wind damage, just like we did yesterday, but this particular setup is not one that we would likely see tornadoes or hail. So that is definitely good news. Again, Wednesday, we have the same story. That is Wednesday's look at severe weather. And the timeline also looks very similar. The chances are a little bit lower. We're going 30 to 40% versus 50 to 60% for today. Taking a look at our chances for rain, we could see as much as ½ an inch to 3/4 of an inch. Those are kind of low end numbers. It definitely could be pockets where we have these heavy downpours. Yesterday we had heavy downpours that dumped in some places 2 inches of rain, in some places 3 inches. So certainly that's not out of the possibility. Here's a look at the heat advisory for this afternoon. Lillington and Smithfield southward. This is where we'll see a heat index of about 106. The rest of the viewing area probably closer to 100 to 103. So today is a WRAL weather alert day for the heat and that chance for storms. We could see more storms tomorrow, but about a 40% chance. It drops off a little Thursday. Friday, the big story will be the fact that we could be near a record high and then a little bit cooler, closer to normal Sunday and Monday with another chance for scattered storms.
You see, you go from 95, 92, 91, keep coming down.
It's going to keep going up.
Okay, so we're talking about a special World Cup celebration. How zoo staff members in Taiwan made this special cake for one dinner.
That looks good. Here's a look at your winning Powerball numbers. 17, 44, 63, 66, 67. Your Powerball is 4.
Well, as we wrap up things, here's a quick look at a few of the headlines that were falling today on WRAL News. So we're staying on top of breaking news. Emergency officials are responding to a water rescue at Raleigh Beach. That's a popular swimming spot along the Neuse River. At least 5 people have drowned in that area since 2024. Sky 5 was above that scene, and we have a crew on the way on the ground. You can look for more updates on air and online.
Investigators say illegal fireworks caused a July 4th apartment fire that killed a 7-year-old in Dunn. Harnett County officials held a news conference this morning announcing charges against Brittany Armstrong. She is charged with involuntary manslaughter in connection with Kashmir Parker's death. His family plans to hold a candlelight vigil tonight to remember him. Investigators have been in contact with Armstrong, but say she has yet to turn herself in.
Today, Governor Josh Stein signed North Carolina's first comprehensive state budget in years. The $34 billion plan delivers raises for teachers and state employees, but it also cuts income taxes again and pours millions of dollars into projects across the state. That includes a new children's hospital in Apex. The governor says that he strongly disagrees with parts of the budget, but he also said he was not willing to hold up pay raises for hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians.
Rockefeller Plaza welcomes a huge golden structure to the heart of New York City. Lego revealed a giant FIFA World Cup trophy built from more than 1 million Lego bricks. It's 27 feet tall. It took more than 50 workers and 7,000 hours of work to build. Children placed the final bricks on the trophy before the model designer cut the ribbon. The trophy was built in the Czech Republic and then transported to New York for all to enjoy.
Very impressive. So while we're talking about the World Cup theme, the first panda born in Taiwan is celebrating a birthday today. The Taipei City Zoo celebrated this panda bear's 13th birthday cake with a World Cup themed birthday cake. Aww. It's made from ice and it's made from fruit. Yes, the panda knocked it to the ground, but she eventually ate it, which is natural to do on one's birthday.
Enjoy that cake. Well, our pet of the day comes to us from Perfect Match. Her name is Backlash, and she's an 8-month-old husky mix. She's amazing with both children and other dogs. She is Creighton house trained, and Backlash's foster mom says she has never chewed anything but her toys. If you think she could make a great addition to your home, reach out to perfectmatch.org, or you can call the number on your screen, 919-522-1307. Backlash. Interesting name.
Beautiful doggy.
NBC News Daily is next on WRAL, your next local news update in 30 minutes.
And as always, you can get your breaking news updates as well as your latest weather reports with the WRAL News app. And you can follow along with the radar to see the situation weather-wise as it ramps up later in the day with the WRAL Weather app. Hope you have a blessed day today.
Stay safe with the latest WRAL Weather Alert Day info. Get up to the minute weather and traffic conditions when you get in your car. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM, in Durham 96.5 FM, and everywhere on 101.5 HD.